Okay, guys, tonight's posture exercises are all going to be on the chair. And I went back and forth with this decision because I think that we're all in a chair so much already. I resisted the idea to teach you some exercises in the chair, but for the same reason, because we're already in a chair, let's learn how to sit properly, right? Okay, so tonight's posture exercises are all sitting. And you know what I better do? Turn around this way so I can see my cheat sheet. Okay, so first things first, when we are sitting, the proper way to do that is on your sit bones. And that's the bony little ridges right here. And that's going to take a little bit of a tilt in the pelvis, okay? You can see that the bony part of the front of my pelvis is now pointing straight ahead. A lot of times we roll under and we sit on the fleshy part of our butt and my pelvis is tucked under. So take a second to just adjust that. And then the next part of good sitting posture is we want our femurs or our thigh bones to be parallel to each other. And we want to look down at the feet and make sure that they are pointed straight ahead. And that leg position and femur position is going to support the tilt of our pelvis so that we can be a nice straight arrow here through the vertebrae. And remember that neutral spine is a little bit of a curve in the neck and a little bit of a curve in the lower back. So just kind of let your spine settle into that position, kind of floating on that pelvis. And this right here actually takes a lot of work. I've created kind of a muscle sandwich between the front of me and the back of me. So I'm real active here on the front side muscles and the back side muscles. And I'm also thinking about the top of my head, telescoping upward and then retracting my chin so my ears are over my shoulders and my shoulders over my hips so that there's no overload of any joint. So that is where we are going to do all of our posture exercises tonight. Now that you're in good position, let's begin. We're going to do sitting scapular retractions, and all I'm going to do is pull those shoulder blades together like I'm squeezing that juicy lemon. Let's do about 20 times. And I'm even though my shoulder blades are moving, I'm really focusing on my feet and my femurs staying parallel to each other and that pelvis staying tilted. And what I'm doing on the shoulder blades is letting them squeeze and release, squeeze and release. And I don't want to bring them up. I want to just bring them straight back. And you guys, while you're taking a break during your Zoom meetings or between nobody has commercials anymore because we're all on streaming TV, but throughout your sitting day, this is a really great thing to just kind of energize the muscles of the upper back and allow the blood to kind of flow straight up and straight down instead of being kinked like this and impeding the blood flow and the neurological flow. We want to give those systems as much advantage as we can by letting them flow freely. So after about 20 scapular retractions, now we're going to go into some cats and dogs. And that starts with our last scapular retraction. So now I want you to really exaggerate that pelvic tilt, really arch the back and squeeze the heck out of those shoulder blades. Now look up just a little bit. So your spine should be a nice convex curve. Now I'm going to reverse the whole thing. I'm going to, at one time, bring my head down and tuck my pelvis under. So now I'm concave and my spine is shaped like the opposite curve or a big letter C. Then all at once, starting in the shoulder blades, I'm going to squeeze the shoulder blades together and my head and my butt are going to arch back at the same time. Now I'm going to spread the shoulder blades apart and the head and the tail are going to tuck under. This is a sitting cat and dog, and I don't want you to just do this with your head. I want all of the motion to start in the scapulae, that's your shoulder blades. Those big gorgeous muscles there of the middle back are so lazy, you guys. They have gotten so lazy in this society of sitting and driving and holding our book and typing on our computer and sleeping with a pillow. These muscles are so inactive. So let's wake them up. And it feels so good to let the spine move along with that. Remember that no part of your body is meant to work by itself. The neighbor to the shoulder blades is the rib cage and the spine. So we want those three to work as a team: shoulder blades, rib cage, and spine. All right, so that was our sitting cats and dogs. I love that one. Next, we're gonna resume our sitting posture and just kind of refresh that for me. Then we're going to twist. So my legs are going to stay completely still, and both of my buns are making an even imprint in my chair. I'm going to turn to the side and hold there for 1 minute. And while I'm there, I'm going to try to do all the same things that I did in the first exercise, except that only I'm turning to my left, and only my left shoulder blade is retracting. My right shoulder blade is kind of spreading forward. So I have this shoulder blade down and retracted, and then this shoulder blade is spread. But even more importantly than that, I don't want your legs to twist. We're just twisting the upper body. We're relaxing the shoulders, extending through the neck, and still making sure that you're in good alignment. Now, as if that wasn't enough, I want you to start working the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a muscle that it should depress as you breathe in. So let's all take a big breath in and push the diaphragm down. And now as we exhale, we're going to pull that diaphragm back up. And the more control we have over that muscular diaphragm, the more support we have over our lower back, and the more efficient breather we are. So once again, we'll breathe in, expanding your belly and letting the diaphragm slide down, and then breathe out. Compress, 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 and that diaphragm will rise up. Okay, that was good. So now we're going to switch sides and do the other. So peek down at your feet, make sure they're pointed straight ahead. Make sure your femurs are pointed straight ahead. And I'm going to turn, and now I'm turning to the right, and my right shoulder blade is pulling, it's connecting, it's trying to say hello to my spine. So this muscle right here is being really active. I'm feeling it here in my torso. And then my left shoulder is just nice and relaxed. I'm going to start working that breathing again. And you don't have to twist as far as I am. If you can't get this far, that's totally okay. But remember that your body is one unit, and it's meant to turn as long as the shoulder blades and rib cage are in a good relationship with the spine. Okay, never want you to move your spine by itself. We want to have the teamwork of the shoulder blade and the rib cage. And then everything here is just soft, and I'm letting my head just be kind of float there on my neck, no tension in my face. All right, and that was about 1 minute there. Okay, so the next one is called a sitting function run, and this is a nice one to just energize the legs. Remember that for blood, when blood leaves your heart, it's pumped really vigorously down to our extremities. But that pathway back up relies on your blood, relies on your veins, which are muscular, and valves, which are muscular. But when we sit too long, they get a little bit stressed. So after sitting, our legs can get a little bit, those veins and valves get a little stressed and lazy, and so we end up with swelling in the legs. It can also lead to blood clots. So this is a great one to do if you're sitting in a Zoom meeting, or sitting in a classroom, or if you're on an airplane and you need to keep your legs moving. So what we're going to do is a really important teamwork. Again, we have 3 joints working: hips, knees, and ankles are all going to be flexed. So see how I'm getting ready down here at the bottom with my ankles flexed, toes are pulled up. I'm still in gorgeous sitting posture here. So ears over shoulders and shoulders over hips. I have a muscle sandwich here. And now I'm going to stay still on my upper body. This is rigid. If you just look at me from the head to my hips, you shouldn't see anything moving. What I'm going to do is try to run as fast as I can, pulling my hips and knees and ankles, but not rock or wobble. So see how fast you can go without rocking. I don't want you to do this, okay? Shouldn't see you moving because we don't want the Zoom people to know that you're moving your legs. This is so awesome, you guys, for your hip flexors, and I'm feeling it a little bit in my abs, believe it or not, because they have to work so hard at stabilizing my torso in that sandwich. So we're going to do about 3 more. 3, 2, and 1, and then relax. That was a little bit more work than I thought it was going to be. Okay, so next we're going to do a plantar fascia stretch. And you know how I think that the body is related and there are teams. So now we're introducing the teamwork between your foot and your hip. And I'm going to sit here in good sitting posture so my upper body is nice and vertical. I'm going to take my hand and interlace it with my fingers, and I'm going to just take that foot for a little ride. We're going to make nice big circles with the foot. And so my foot is getting a reminder that it's supposed to be mobile. If you look at the anatomy of the foot, you wouldn't think anything differently because the foot is made of 26 foot and ankle, 26 bones, and 100 muscles. So why in the world we thought it was a good idea to box it into a real big arch-supported shoe with anti-stabilizing technology is beyond me. The foot is supposed to be super mobile and supple, you guys, in a muscular, shock-absorbing paw, and not just a clunky, rigid peg that's locked in a shoe all day. So while I'm reminding the ankle of its job, I'm also reminding the hip that it is supposed to be a rotator. And if you're like me, that hip has gotten really tight from all the sitting. I worked in a gym for the last 13 years, up until April, actually up until March. And now I sit. And so my hips are always in this position, and turning it out this way is exactly what it's supposed to do. Now, if you can't stay there as long as I did, do it a little shorter. And all of these exercises, remember, are yours. They're not mine. So if I'm doing it too long and it's hurting you, just stop. Don't eliminate the exercise, just modify it. So let's switch sides. Okay, try to maintain good sitting posture here, sorry. Each of these posture exercises is important because it's restoring the way that your body is meant to be aligned. It's restoring the proper mechanics of each joint, and it's restoring the proper function of your skeleton as one unit. No joint is meant to work by itself. They are all meant to work in synchrony with the neighbors, okay? And a lot of times there's 3 people, 3 joints on each team, not just one. So here again, we have the ankle and the hip working as a team, and you'll notice that the knee is just a soft hinge. If this one is not right for you, even with some modifications, don't do it. I've showed you so many already. After tonight, we'll have 24 different posture exercises, you guys. So there certainly is something that feels right for your body. Okay, so that's enough of those. And then our last one is going to be a sitting overhead extension. And I'm going to turn this way again. We're just going back to that original position, okay? I'm sitting on the bony part of my butt. My femurs and my feet are parallel to each other. I'm going to clasp my hands and flip them like this. And I'm going to reach all the way up overhead. And I'm going to look up at my fingernails. And I'm not going to let my shoulders go up. My hands are up, but I'm pushing my shoulders down. And I'm back bending just a little bit, and I'm going to keep working at pulling my arms back to a point that's challenging, but not injuring me. I know you guys are trying so hard this week, and I've already heard like, oh God, I think I overdid it on the downward dog, or oh geez, I may have gone a little too much on the sit to stand. So use these exercises in the way that feels best for your body. And again, we're just holding here for 1 minute. We probably have about 10 more seconds. Reach up one more time, try to pull yourself right up to the ceiling and relax. So those are 6 nice posture exercises that you can do right in your chair. Okay, so then we're going to move into the strength training. And I wanted to take a little time and not do a workout this time, but do more of an instructional on what each of these fundamental exercises really should look like and why it's so important. So the first one that I'm going to do tonight is an overhead press. I have a kettlebell here. If that's not what you have, that's okay. If you have a soup can or a dumbbell, I'm totally fine with that. If you are using a kettlebell, we're going to hold it here. This is called a goblet grip. So it's right in the heel of my hand, and then I'm bracing it like this between my second and third fingers, okay? So a push exercise has 3 joints on the team. Whether you're doing a chest press or a push-up or this overhead press, we have hands, we have elbows, and we have shoulders. So on this one, I want you to think about the shoulder as being the mover and the elbow as just the hinge. So what we're going to do with whatever you're holding, we're going to take it straight up by letting the shoulders create a nice ball and socket, and then pull it back down. So the shoulders are where my power is coming from. The hand is kind of the steering wheel, but I'm only using the hand really to steer. Most of the muscle is coming from my shoulders. And then the elbows are just the hinge. They're just a connector here. So if this one is not right for you, maybe you feel better doing those push-ups, or maybe you liked standing on the band and doing a chest press. We're going to do, tomorrow night, we're going to do one more pushing exercise, and hopefully that will give you at least one exercise that works for you in that pushing category. Because if you don't practice this fundamental movement pattern, when you get to a place where you need to push something, like push a heavy door open, or push a heavy grocery cart, or one time I actually had to push my little Volkswagen Golf out of a snowbank. If you don't have the pushing mechanics down pat, you're going to injure yourself, or you're going to end up overusing your hand. I have so many women that say, oh my God, I have bad wrists because I push too much. You don't have bad wrists because you push too much. You have bad wrists because you push wrong. You were pushing from your wrist instead of from your shoulders. So practicing pushing as one of your fundamental exercises for strength training is so mandatory. If you're having trouble figuring out which pushing exercise is right for you, please comment or message me. I'll be happy to help you figure one out. Okay, the next one I'm going to do is a bent over row, and I'm going to use my same kettlebell. This satisfies our pulling exercise. So think about all the things that you have to pull. When you reach into the washing machine and pull the laundry out. When you reach down into the garden and you pull a weed. Or you reach down and pick up your grocery bags. You're pulling, okay? So this is our pull, and tonight I'm going to do a bent over row. I have both of my kettlebells now, and I'm going to drive my butt way back into a hinge, because a lot of times what we're pulling is something from the floor. So I'm going to push my tail way back into a hinge, and I'm just going to pull and then relax. And same thing, my shoulder is starting the motion. So shoulders, back, 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 squeezing that lemon. My elbows are just the hinge, and my hands are a gentle connector. But all the work is right up there in those same muscles between the shoulder blades. So this is a bent over row. I'm doing it with 2 hands. You could also do it with 1 hand. So maybe one hand goes on your countertop and then the other arm rows. And that's a little easier on the back. That way your hand is supporting your body instead of relying on your legs if you're not strong enough to come down here like this quite yet. Again, it's hard because I don't know who you are or where you are with your strength training repertoire or expertise, but I'm going to try to give you as much variety and as many different ideas as we can. So that's our pull for tonight. And just to review, we also have learned the pullovers where you were on your back, or we had the long sitting rows with the rubber bands, okay? Then we're going to do a goblet squat. And so I'm going to hold my kettlebell again, just like this, in the heels of my hands with a nice reinforcement here, like a fork. If you're using a soup can, that's okay. If you're using your imagination, that's okay too. What we're going to do is it's basically a sit to stand without a chair. A squat is one of the fundamental motions because every time we sit in a chair, or let's be honest, sit down on the toilet, we need to lower ourselves under control and then get up. And we need to do that several times a day. As soon as you lose the ability, you guys, to sit down and stand back up again, a lot of bad things happen. And if you don't practice it, you're going to use your knees instead of your hips. So here we go with our 3 joints again. We have our feet, our knees, and our hips all working on this squat. So I'm going to start my first set with my feet pretty far apart because that's kind of a nice warm up or first set position. So I'll do it from the side so you can see me. So watch what my hips do. The first motion is my hips sit back, okay? If you're squatting and not putting your hips back, you're a knee squatter and you're not a team. Your hips are not even part of the game here. So let's get the hips way back, way back, way back, way back, and then down as far as your hips want to go. Okay, mine are gonna go right there, and my elbows are right on my knees, and then I'm gonna stand up. Okay, so my hips are the first thing to move. My knees are just a soft hinge, and my feet, you guys, are grabbing onto the floor through the heel and the big toe and the pinky toe. So maybe 2 reps is right for you, okay? Maybe you want to go a little faster, and that's okay. That's another nice way to mix up the variety here on these exercises. If what I'm showing you is too hard, go slow or do fewer. If what I'm showing you is too easy, do more and go faster or invest in some weights. The going rate for a kettlebell is about $2 per pound. So I have a 15 that was about $30, and then I actually have a 20, obviously, which was about $40. So if you're in the market for some home equipment, expect to spend about $2 per pound on kettlebells. And I do like having different weights, different sizes. Don't get like 2 10-pounders, get 2 different sizes there. Okay, so then my hinge. I am a big fan of the hinge, you guys. So we learned the bridge and we learned the deadlift yesterday, 2 days ago with the rubber band, and I did it again yesterday with the HIIT training. Today we're going to do a sumo deadlift. All that means is we're taking a wider stance with our feet. And the hinge motion looks a lot like the squat. Remember that the squat was here, and notice that my butt is kind of going down and up. So I call that a south to north movement with my butt. It's going pretty much straight down and then straight up south to north. The deadlift is east and west. Very little motion in my knees. They're just gonna, bend a little bit if I need it for my flexibility, but mostly I'm hinging here at the pelvis. So I'm going east and west. So what I'm going to do is take both of my kettlebells. You're going to take both your weights or your soup cans. And if they're different weight, that's totally okay, because we're going to do the other way, the second set. So my feet are wide, and I'm driving that butt way back. I'm going to tap the floor because I can. If you can't, that's okay. Okay? And if you have to get to the floor by rounding, that is not okay, not okay, not okay. Okay? Do not do that. We want to keep the spine totally neutral. So it should look, the shape of your back should have that slight little arch in the lower part. All right, so here's my sumo deadlift. This is a hinge. And this, when they used to say lift with your legs, not your back, that's what they meant. My back has not moved at all. Muscle sandwich is keeping it still there, okay? So don't underestimate the amount of work that I'm doing here in my torso. I'm staying super rigid here with the help of my abs and my spinal muscles. And all the work is here in my legs. So I could lift a heavy box. I could lift up my dog. I could lift 100+ pound barbell at the gym if I wanted to. But at home, I'm going to do my sumo squats with these guys. And then on the second set, what I would do is just switch them over like that, okay? So that's a hinge, and that also, again, it's an important skill that you see everywhere during your day. Look for it. Look for these in your everyday life. Where are you reaching overhead? And what are you pulling? And what are you pulling up from the floor, hinging and squatting and such? We want to be as well prepared for that as possible. Okay, so then today's lunge is going to be a reverse lunge. I'm going to just hold one kettlebell here. A reverse lunge is just like a squat, more like a squat than a deadlift actually. So my butt is going to go south and north, and I'm using 3 joints. I'm going to use hip, knee, and foot. And the nice thing about adding a lunge is it works a lot in your coordination and your balance. Not always in life are you going to be able to stand with your feet hip distance apart and toes pointed straight ahead. Sometimes life sneaks up on us and we have to have one foot in front of the other. Like if you're trying to cross a river, or if you're trying to scoop down and grab a $100 bill that you found on the ground, or you find yourself, even getting into your car, you're on one leg. Going up and down stairs, you're on one leg. So adding a lunge to your workout is so fundamental. It's hard though. The lunge is really hard, and I think it's because we are a little weak. So if you need to on your lunge, I want you to hold on to a countertop. I always like to do a reverse lunge because it's less pressure on my knees. So I'm holding the weight in my left hand, and I'm going to step back with my right foot. And I'm holding the table over here on my right. So I'm stepping back, and then watch how my butt is going to go straight down and straight up again. Big step back because I want your knees to both be bent to 90. Let me get this out of the way so you can see. So my front knee is bent to about 90, and my back knee is bent to 90. And that's where I want to work. So what I think about is step, drop my pelvis straight down, push both feet into the floor, and stand up again, and hold if you need to. So here's my reverse lunge. And if you are strong and you have good balance, and this is an easy exercise for you, maybe you want to try to hold the weight up here on your shoulder instead of down like a suitcase. Or maybe you want to hold it here in front of you in that goblet position. Okay? The other lunge that we did on that first night was just right here. We just practiced being in that split squat position and working your balance and your strength here. And then maybe when you get good at that, you hover. And then maybe when you get good at that, you do something like this. And then maybe when you get good at that, you end up doing the full reverse lunge. Okay, you would also, of course, want to do it on the other leg. But in the interest of time, we won't do that tonight. And then the last one is a carry. And so we have been improvising a little bit and doing, we did the side plank one night, and then last night we did the stork isometric with a pull apart. The purpose of a carry is to teach you how to brace your core so that when you're actually carrying something like a heavy tote bag or a suitcase or a load of groceries, you can brace the core and create that low abdomen muscle sandwich and prevent yourself from blowing out your back or getting a hernia or overdoing it on your hips. So the purpose of a carry is to really brace through here, and I like to think about kind of tightening up the corset as best we can, and then adding a heavy weight like I'm going to do tonight increases your grip strength. One of the predictors of longevity is grip strength. Not because strong hands make you live long, but because if you have strong hands, you can still take care of yourself. And I know we're looking way ahead for a lot of you, But if you can still open your pill bottles, and if you still have the dexterity to work your, your hearing aids and your car keys and your, your tools around the house, grip strength is so, so, so important, and having strong hands is going to be a big help. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to walk off the screen here and do a carry. I want you to grab something as heavy as you can find. Maybe that's a heavy weight, or maybe that's just a purse or a suitcase. And when we carry, I want you to pull those shoulders back. Let me turn the screen up a little bit. Good carrying mechanics start at the shoulder. And remember how we said that the shoulder is in a relationship with the rib cage? So I want the shoulder to stay tucked right there into the rib cage. But now, instead of the spine being the third member of the team, I want your abs to be the third member of the team, okay? So hard as a rock here, got that corset on, and I have my shoulder blade pinned to my rib cage. Now I'm just going to walk. I'm going to take about 10 steps off the screen and imagine that I'm carrying a suitcase. I like to imagine that I'm kind of prancing through the airport with a tall, beautiful posture. I'll be right back. And then as I come back, I've just switched hands, and I'm going to practice the same thing, tucking that shoulder blade into the rib cage. That's 1, 2, and 3 people on the team, 3 muscles or 3 joints on the team. So I hope you guys have something heavy at home that you can kind of fashion a carry with. It's such an awesome, awesome way to increase your strength, increase your core control, and train you to do the fundamental movements in life, so that when those opportunities actually happen, you are strong and ready for it. So I hope that little breakdown kind of helped tonight and gave you some more ideas on how to fill in your Big 6 strength program. And I will see you tomorrow night at 6:30 for our final day, and it's going to be all about exercise. I'll see you guys then. Have a great night. Bye.